Hello, it's Rob here and welcome to the next of my build videos on my Tamiya TD4 Super Avante. We're going to be starting on parts bag C and making up the rear shocks. So, without any further ado, we'll get into step 13, making up the rear dampers. Now, I wasn't going to show you this because I've done loads of these in the past, and I won't say cock up, but the E-clips always fly off when I'm on video. But something I've not seen before is we've got a spacer or a shim MC16, which is a 5.5 by 0.5 millimeter in the bottom of the piston, and it's showing here that to start with we should use a 3-hole piston, so that's what I'm going to do, but I may change that, so let's see how we go. I'm sure I don't really need to talk you through doing this. Just have to get me goggles because I can't see. Okay, sorry about that, but couldn't grab me goggles, so I thought I'd stop recording, and then my doorbell went, so that was fortuitous. So getting back to it, right, so I've put the first E-clip on and that spacer, so now we've just got to try and get this E-clip on, and there we go. It must be something about doing it for the first time, because normally that one pings off on me. So I'll get on, and I think, do you know what guys, I don't think I need to show you step 13, 14 and 15, building them all. I've done it so many times in the past, so I'll just crack on and we can see what the results are. Okay, so here we are, both springs, shocks even, done, ready for the next stage. There is a note here telling you about using X4, X6 or X7 depending on how, shall we say, stiff you want the suspension, but if anything, looking at that, to me, I'd be more inclined to go to the 2-hole piston. I think that's springing out a bit too quick for my liking, even though we've got the clear hard 900 weight oil in, but as I say, I like to build them stock and as the manual says to begin with, so we'll just have to give it a try. So we can move on to step 16, which I think will be installing them. Righty ho, step 16 is actually attaching the shocks, and it's just a simple case of lining them up with the ball joint like that, if you can see that. Oops. I'm pressing it in, or if it won't go in like that one didn't, spin it around 180 degrees and try again. It does seem to be easier to get on depending on which side you use, like that. We've also got 2 D6s, which I'm looking at them and assuming that they're going to be to hold the mud guards, and they're held in place by 2 MC3s 2 by 5mm screws. So I'll just finish this side off. I've already done this side, and we can carry on with step 17. Well, step 17, attaching the upper deck. Quite a lot of parts in this one, so I think we'll crack on and we'll start here with K9. And doesn't look much like a robot dog to me, but hey. First thing is we need this one here with the countersunk screw. And I'll finish that up and crack on with the next stage. Okay, so the next stage we're going to need the chassis, so we'll put that there. Oh, I've missed something here. It says remove side view, so that's this bit here. Okay, get me file out and do that, and then come back to you and hopefully show you what I've done. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but bit of filing, bit of sanding. Let's see how we go. Right, coming back to it then. Looking at the diagram, oops, it needs to go somewhere around here, but we've got two A6 spacers. This is going to be a nightmare, folks. That go here and here, or hither and thither, and then we need one of these A15s that go something like so, with that on top. In fact, let's find, we need MB1, so we need the longer screws, 3 by 10 mil. So let's pop that through and pop that through. And wiggle it about a bit. I think that's, oops, I think that needs a bleep. But I was that shocked that it went straight in for an half an hour. And then we need to repeat for the other side, so I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, the last step or stage in step 17 is to attach these captive nuts for later use, I am assuming, and it's a bit tricky. Then we've got this part here, which is A28, and this little tiny screw here, 2 by 8mm, which is a normal JPS head. And then what you have to try and do is position that in there and line it all up, and then I get the screw in without doing that. Oh, the joys. I'm sure Tamiya are designing these kits to stop us old fogies from doing them, bleeding black on black on black and needing the thinnest of fingers and the best of eyesight, and then we just screw it in finally. And then once we've done that, we go for a cup of coffee because I've just noticed the next step is making up the high torque servo saver, which from previous times is a right struggle. So definitely coffee time. Okay folks, so I've done it, and possibly a tip for you. After struggling for ages trying to get even the first one on, well not the first one, the second one on out of the three, I was almost about to give up, but then decided to take my file and file just the corner off the outside of the top of the innermost spring, and then I came and the second spring went on quite easily. And the other thing I did was stuck this in a vise with a bit of paper, just so that I'd got both hands free rather than trying to hold the plastic with one hand or the thing with one hand. And so there's my tips: stick it in a vise, file the edges of the springs down, and I even got the third one on a lot easier than I have done in the past. So there we go, we can move on. Okay, quick chat about step 19. I've done everything, it's all set up. So here's the servo now. What I've done though is, if we look down here, you've got two choices. Using part A, which is Q5, you get more of a wider range of steering angles at full turn, and then using Q2 you get a narrower angle. So for now I've gone with the narrower one, because I always seem to be having to turn down the EPA on most of my models, because the servo's still trying to turn when the car's at full lock. So I thought I'd try that first. However, we've also got up here two different ball joints. So if you use the narrower one like I have, you need MC9 and MC2 to screw it onto, like so. And if you use Q5, you want MC10 and MA3. So with that, I can now move on. There's lots of other information, but I'm sure you've seen it all before, and different screws you can use depending on what servo. One thing I will say is it's definitely a low profile servo we need from what I've seen elsewhere. So I've got this E-tronics one, so I'll just have to wait and see. I've never used this one before, but we shall see when we get to installing it all and getting it running, because I think I've got quite a long way yet. So let's see what happens over the page. Well, I've turned over the page, and step 20 is the last step of parts bag C, so therefore will hopefully also be the end of this video, and it's actually installing the servo into the chassis, as you can see there. Now before we get into this, it's showing you parts A19. You need two of them if you do need them. That's to raise the servo up to clear the prop shaft. So what I've done is, to test this out with mine, is I've taken my parts A20 and I've already screwed them into place. If you can see from that, there's a cutout there, so they fit nicely into that, only on this side. and I'll just place my servo in. Then I've got the front end of the diff here and the lovely anodised aluminium prop shaft, and we can pop it in place, and then I can roughly line it up to see, and as far as I'm concerned I don't think I'm going to need those spacers, so I think I can just go ahead now and connect the servo to the chassis using the 4 screws and washers, and I'll be back and show you once I've finished. And there we have it, folks, servo installed, and whatever else was it, these this strengthening bit, or upper deck as they called it, and some other little bits and bobs. So I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope you join me for the next one. Cheers, bye!